Today's guest is Nick Mobilio. He's a partner at PwC Canada. All right, Nick, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I, you went from family business to now are established within PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Yeah, yeah. Long journey. Yeah.
So let's unpack that a bit. The restaurant business was with the family. So your family was entrepreneurial.
Very entrepreneurial. Yeah. My mom was born in a small town in Northern Ontario. She kind of moved across country as a hairdresser and worked both at Woodward's back in the day, and then and then out of her house as well. And then my father was born and raised in Italy. Moved across the big lake to Canada in the late '60s as a teenager, and opened his first restaurant at 21. Then got into the bakery business and bought and sold bakeries, and then and a couple of restaurants, and then he had a restaurant when we were young kid. I have an older brother and older sister, and he opened up a restaurant, more or less because he had a commercial building that its main tenant left, and he needed to pay the rent or pay the mortgage. So so he got into the restaurant industry again, and that's where kind of I grew up in that restaurant with my family. Very family oriented business. Worked as a dishwasher, as a server, as a cook, chef for many years, and helped my mom do the books, and got me into the early stages of accounting when I helping mom do the books. And yeah, very, very, very much a family business that we had
Yeah,
for a long time.
very cool. What uh, would something that someone that wasn't in the restaurant business, wouldn't necessarily know about the business, or maybe a misconception? Like what's something that comes up that you hear that just because you've been in it, better.
I think you, as a restaurant owner, probably as a small business owner in general, you live and breathe that small business. There's no days off. You're always thinking about it. So I think to some degree, it's how you manage it. I think you can probably get into that rep in any career, but definitely as a small business, you're always thinking about it. You're always thinking about the challenges and the issues that come up. And so, living and breathing that every day is kind of how you roll as a family. It's a lot of sacrifice, especially in a restaurant industry. I always, people always ask me, would you ever go back into it? And I'd say I would do it different. Just because it's so challenging on your family life when you're running a restaurant and you're working when everyone else is eating or with their families, or um, enjoying their time. So I remember as a young late teenager in my early 20s, my friends would always want to be going out or having parties and stuff, and I'd be like, yeah, I'll meet you there because I gotta do the dinner rush first. And so it just takes sacrifice, like any entrepreneurial business, or any entrepreneur takes
Sure.
sacrifice to make it
Yeah.
succeed.
So you work with entrepreneurs with your current practice, but you said what one thing you said sort of got me curious. You said I would do it differently if I went back. What would you do different?
I would be more focused. I think when my father opened the restaurant, and when it was a different time then. It was very much like focused on the customer and giving them lots of choices. And if you look at restaurants now, and so our menu was really big, and so it carried a lot of inventory and a lot of prep work, like significant amount of prep work, which we just did as a family. So again, a lot of time invested. I would change it so now notice if you go to restaurants now, smaller menus, more simplistic in nature, so you can the turnover in staff is a little easier for training purposes. But I would probably focus it more on servicing like like the business community, so that I'm working early in the morning and finishing around 3 or 4 o'clock to then get home because I have young kids. So so that's how I would do it. I wouldn't say I'd ever get back into the restaurant industry, but if I was to do it, that's what I would do.
Could you, I know, like, our customers are contractors, and contractors in the roofing industry can't go anywhere without staring at the roofs. I mean, could you, because you've been part of the restaurant industry for a while, can you sit and eat at a restaurant without analyzing what's happening inside the restaurant?
No, no. I'm sure like a roofer could look at a roof and instantly find the discrepancies or the issues with that roof. I have that problem when I can like immediately tell when something's not positioned properly on the plate or if something isn't serviced properly. So it's just, it's like, I guess it's the doom and gloom you live with when you become like, when you spend so much time in an industry. And so,
For
yeah,
sure. And now, that you're working in many industries and now more private businesses, I guess on the numbers side, you're constantly, seeing things, right? You're seeing
yeah.
correlating things, you know, habits, patterns, and stuff like that. What sort of things you commonly run across?
Yeah, I mean, I think as my role as an auditor at PwC, my job is to find it's to support them get through, say, the financial statement audit or some sort of reporting requirement. But as part of my job, we find the anomalies, we find the issues. It's nowadays it's evolved. In my 13, 14 years now at the firm, and in the assurance industry, it's changed. Technology is evolving. There's new tech coming in every year, every week. It seems the tech's evolving. So there's always challenges with regards to processes and process improvements and how to find ways to streamline your business, as well as ensure that you're servicing your customers, but in the most streamlined way. How can we find efficiencies? So having that entrepreneurial background, and when I'm servicing clients now, I'm always trying to recommend ways that we can support them. PwC is a vast firm that has a number of different service offerings, so I always try and treat my clients as if I would, as a business owner, I want to make sure that they're getting the best getting the best out of their business and finding the opportunity. So I'm always trying to encourage them to, if I can reference other companies or other ways that people are doing things, that they can incorporate into their business. That's why I always try and provide that a little bit of value if I can.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, if you're a small business and you're helping someone, then you'd have your network and you reach out. But I guess within a large company, I mean, even if everyone has titles, the internal relationships matter a lot, right? In terms of figuring out who's good at what and stuff like that. And I mean, do you intentionally try to build those relationships in house because you have a fairly large firm?
Yeah, I'd say that's probably one of my strengths. If anything, is networking, building networks. I think I cherish relationships, and I think that um, it kind of stems probably back to my childhood and growing up in an industry where you're seeing customers all the time and you have to build relationships with customers even in a short period of time, serving a table or working. You might have this brief moment, but you kind of find a commonality, find a common ground, and build that relationship. And I think I've translated that into working with clients as well as internally with my colleagues within a large firm. PwC in Canada has almost 9,000 employees. But I've had the benefit of working with across industries and across lines of service that we provide, and built a really strong network that allows me to then tap into that network, not just kind of reach out and say, hey, do we do this, or can we help them? It's reaching out to them, hey, we have this issue, I know you know how to do this, can you join it, can you help us and find a solution? So it helps with kind of speedy delivery to our clients, an efficient manner, and also, the understanding what others are doing that we can bring new ideas to our customers. So it's important that the networking is really important. I'm always stressing that on the new starts that come in, to invest time and build relationships, and you never know where those relationships land. Down the line 10 years from now, and who you run into again. So it's important to build those relationships and keep them current.
Sure. Yeah, when you were mentioning, developing relationships in the hospitality side, I guess that's true. Like when people come in, you don't know who they are. You have to, figure out the cues early, and then you sometimes you only have a few words to try to develop rapport or try to start a conversation. Were there any sort of best practices or things that work for you, or things that maybe others could adapt from that side if they were never part of the hospitality side?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to always just kind of go in with an open mind, especially with clients meeting people for the new for the first time. It's just normal kind of conversational. Be open to kind of just saying hello to somebody, and we in the business industry, and there's a lot of networking. There's always events or galas or networking opportunities at certain functions. So not being afraid to don't always kind of run to the same people that you know, and every time it's open your horizons a little bit, say hello, and have certain things that you can ask questions on, whether it's topical of the space you're in at the moment, or just kind of more of a general conversation. It can lead on from there and find common ground. I give an example. We had hosted an event. And it was the first time kind of me going to something like that. It was for venture capitals, and I just had come across somebody I never met before, and just started talking, and ended up lining like, oh, where do you? He came from. He was from Asia, and so I said, where do you live now? He's in Burnaby, and I'm like, oh, I live in Burnaby. Whereabouts? This area. And turns out we live like 3 blocks apart, and I knew who his neighbor was. So it's like it's just sometimes you land in common ground. Sometimes you don't, but the conversation can go in great places. Now, then we met for coffee after, and now we have a great connection. And so it can go wherever it intends, but it always got to start with a hello and start with a simple beginning. So it's you always gotta kind of branch out, and don't be afraid to. Somebody might say, "I don't want to talk," or "Don't ignore you," or something. That's okay. Like you can go to the next person, right? So
Yeah, it sounds like, just like a no preconceived notion and a healthy amount of curiosity.
yeah, for sure. Curiosity takes you a long way.
Sounds good. As you moved up through the organization, what sort of skills, that you had, I guess networking one of them, but helped, and what sort of things did you have to develop? Some things come easy, some things, take deliberate, intentional work. What have you had to hone, as you've moved up in the organization?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think I touched on ability to build relationships both internally and with clients, and I think that's definitely been a benefit of my career as I've grown in my career. The other thing that I learned, from my family, and that I took with me into the workplace here was my work ethic. Working in whether it was in building something or fixing something around the house with me dad, and he'd always say, "Let's go, we got to do this," or get in the truck, we got to go pick something up or do something for work, or at the restaurant, being in that fast-paced environment, in the kitchen, you got to be willing to work, and kind of work at a high speed. And when you translate that into the firm environment, especially in audit practice, January till April, May, you're working busy hours, long hours, busy season, like as you expect. So that definitely helped me because of my work ethic, and kind of bringing that in, and ability to do that. But some things that I had to learn over my career at the firm and really focus on is things like time. As I got more advanced in my career, you're really kind of working on multiple jobs, and multiple deliverables, and so really project managing my time, focusing on prioritization, where to spend my time, where to invest it, prioritizing clients or deliverables, which of my staff need more handholding than others. So kind of really understanding the nuances of each of the different jobs, and so it really kind of starting to prioritization, and really project managing my own time, which was challenging at first because you can just work hard at something, but while that's going on, something else is going on. So if you're not equally sharing your time and understanding where the priorities are, you can work hard but miss the mark, right? So that was kind of something I really had to focus on and set goals, and that's daily to-do lists and agendas and uh, planning out my weeks and those type of things that I continue to do now and really try and focus on.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. When I know you've been a part of a society. Tell me about that. Potluck Cafe Society. What's that about?
Yeah, so in addition to kind of working, and I've always kind of wanted to give back. It actually kind of stems from my childhood and always being part of things, whether it's volunteer and those opportunities to give back that my parents always instilled in us. So kind of when I made manager at the firm, one of my colleagues at the time was going on mat leave, and she said, "Look, I sit on this organization. It's and she's been on it for 6 years on the board, and she had asked if I'd be interested. And it's, coming from a food service background, Potluck Cafe Society it's a not-for-profit organization focused on the downtown east side. It's an interesting organization and social enterprise that's focused on corporate catering, but with a mandate of supportive employment and food security. And so effectively, it's a not-for-profit business that owns a corporate catering company, and so does normal corporate catering and events and catering events, but with the focus of supportive employment. So those people with barriers to normal entry into the workforce, whether they've come off addiction or had trauma in their life, we support them getting back into the normal workspace. And so that could be like somebody that can only handle working, I don't know, one shift a week or 2 hours a day, and so we kind of incorporate that with support workers into and build that, get them back into a regular working environment. What that looks like for them is always different. In addition to also with a mandate as the organization on food security, both giving the opportunity for our workers to, make a living wage, and we try to be a living wage employer, although that living wage keeps growing. But also supporting them, with nutritional foods, and then also supporting the downtown east side and the community with nutritional foods through the various food programs and such. So I've been on that board for about almost 10 years. It's been great. We've had our ups and downs. Right now is a challenging environment for anybody in the not-for-profit space, so it's definitely taken a lot more of my time right now to investing in that and trying to ensure that we can kind of see the next phase of this organization. But it's been around for 25 years, so we're focused on really building that out, ensuring that we're seeing the long-term viability of it.
Yeah, for sure. No, very, very good stuff. Is there anything else that I haven't asked you, but you wanted to share?
I think that there's also some great things that, like, in terms of additional to what I've done there, and my growth in my career has lent me a lot of opportunities to give back, both within in the firm and outside the firm. Within the firm, I support a volunteer program. It's an Indigenous youth mentorship program that I've been leading for 10 plus years, which focus on Indigenous youth in high school, where we kind of just plan certain events and help them with resume review or getting them ready for mock job interviews, finding them, helping them how to find different bursaries or scholarship opportunities as they move into post secondary school. So that's been something that's been I've loved being part of and loved organizing and helping for the last 10 years. And I always encourage the next generation coming in, the next staff coming in, to really hone in on those opportunities, while it's taking time away from, I don't know, TikTok or Netflix. It's a great opportunity to give back to the community, but also an opportunity to build relationships, build rapport with your colleagues and others, in providing service together. So that's something that I do cherish, and and I love kind of being part of those types of things. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, my day-to-day job at PwC keeps me busy. I got three young boys at home that I also enjoy coaching and other things outside of the firm. So it's definitely a busy life, but I wouldn't change it for a second.